Hello everybody, happy Easter. It is still just about Easter Monday here in sunny Rhyl, North Wales. Hesitated there because it's been sunny, but it's been really cold, very, very cold today. But lovely blue skies for third or fourth day in a row. I hope you've been able to get out and about if you've been able to, and enjoy some of it. I haven't yet. Of course, stay-at-home restrictions were lifted here in Wales on the 27th. So today's the 5th of April. So on the 27th of March. Sorry. Tired. Long day. Stay-at-home restrictions were lifted here. And yes, it's just about still Easter Monday. I hope you've had a lovely Easter weekend, a peaceful one. Time to recoup if you needed to recoup. Time to go out and about if it's been your first opportunity to. Obviously, while still observing social distancing and all the hand washing, masks when needed, etc. And yeah, I wanted just before I go to bed, while I'm finishing the nighttime washing up, wanted to sort of basically check in, say Happy Easter, and tell you what's been going on here really at Councillor James Towers. It's the last time I made a vlog on the channel. I'm trying to think really, it's been a while. I think it's been a little while. I've been it's been a funny one actually. I've been alright one minute, not feeling so great the next minute. It's been, I think, 3 weeks now since my initial COVID jab, the AstraZeneca jab. I was not so great the week after that, but I seemed to pick up again and become a bit more like myself. And then the last week again, I just seem to have been wiped out energy-wise. Bit strange, not sure why really. But I suppose, could be age, could be anything, I don't know. Could be a little bit of a sniffle. I don't know about you, but I'm not. It doesn't help me, especially as someone who's been asthmatic all my life. It doesn't help me if it's lovely and sunny and warm one day, and then the next day it's very cold. It doesn't help at all. But anyway, enough of my ailments. I've noticed when I have been out, popping over to my local supermarket to get bits, as we call them, bits that we need every now and again, that I think for many people, it's in their minds, it seems as though this is all over. Things seem to have sort of almost got back to normal. Everyone's out and about, very busy. The roads are busy again, almost as it was a year ago, before we went into the first lockdown. So there's been lots of people having garden parties, barbecues, all sorts of things here over the past this past week. So yeah, it really does feel like people think that things are just, that's it really. And summer's on the way, so that's great. But I would like to remind people that here in Wales, the rules still are that you need to restrict yourself to one other household only as part of your support bubble, and even in that case, socially distance as much as possible, preferably in your garden rather than indoors. You shouldn't, still, if you can help it, you're still not supposed to meet anyone indoors who's not part of your household. So I'm assuming in England it's the same sort of rules still as we've got here in Wales. So it's I know it's easy to jump the gun, especially when the sun shines out and the weather's nice, and after the past year that we've had. But let's not do the classic thing of celebrating before the race is won, the race is over, because that's when last minute losses can occur, unfortunately, and we don't want any more than we need, any more than is absolutely unavoidable. So there's always a tomorrow. There's always a new day in the morning, as it were, speaking metaphorically, and it certainly feels like finally getting there. And I heard today that there's possibly going to be staggered opening of international travel, which would be great. Won't affect me. I can't afford to go anywhere, even in the UK. I can't afford to get on the bus, to be honest, at the minute, even if I wanted to. So it doesn't help me, but I know there's lots and lots of people. So I just washed my hair and it's gone all look like, I know there's lots of people who, are quite desperate to go off and just forget things and relax, naturally, of course. That's everyone's natural sort of response at the minute, isn't it? So I'm sure I'll be taking my first opportunity when I can to hop over to one of the larger cities and enjoy a bit of city life and solitude for a weekend at least. Would be nice. But so that's not a lot happening locally here. Oh, we found out here through the news, local news, that which was very bizarre, that my county council here, which is controlled by a Conservative cabinet with independent members and I think some Liberal Party members, are planning to open a gourmet fish and chip shop outlet on the promenade, I think this year in the summer, and extend our 1891 restaurant up at the pavilion, extended to like balcony eating, basically, quite sort of upscale balcony eating, and open a coffee shop. I think it's a Costa, from what I read, which all sounds lovely. But warning, here comes my soapbox. Unfortunately, from my point of view as a councillor here, as a community councillor, and I know in the views of lots of people who've been devoting their time to feed people who need help, who can't feed themselves at the moment, and there are going to be more of those people, unfortunately, as we all know, going forward, completely misses the point of what's been happening here, and certainly has no bearing on what's going to happen here, and the scale of what's going to happen here, which is people who can't feed themselves, can't feed their families, working or not, needing help with that. People needing suitable housing. In like most places in the country, where housing stocks, social housing stocks, are at a all-time shortage, and the suitability of living conditions in those housing stocks are also unacceptable in many cases. Yet, here's my council, my Conservative local council, pouring money into gourmet fish and chip shops. This is a proposal, a development brought about by something called Denbighshire Leisure. Denbighshire Leisure is a relatively recent, and you may have something where you are like this, relatively recent, I think they're called LATCs, Local Area Trading Company, Local Authority Trading Company, sorry, which is basically a private company which is attached to your council. I have a problem with that idea, and one of the reasons I have a problem with that idea is because you end up with things like gourmet fish and chip shops, which are meant for theoretical holidaymakers with lots of money in their pockets, well-to-do holidaymakers who can afford the prices of this gourmet fish and chip shop, who can afford the prices of the very plush 1891 restaurant, which I have to tell you, no one I speak to can afford. I can't afford to go and eat at. But it's quite clear that almost all of these projects that are being built using, of course, taxpayers' money from council tax here, and Welsh Government, Labour Government money, are not meant for the residents. Not meant for my residents. They're meant and designed for the use of theoretical, well-to-do holidaymakers from the surrounding cities and towns. I have to say, I've never come across these holidaymakers, and I've lived here my entire adult life. There's lots of holidaymakers, and this is usual times, but the holidaymakers I meet are families with very little money coming here for a cheap holiday at the seaside. It's real. This apparently seems to be news to the bigwigs that run my council and hold the purse strings and decide what's built and what isn't built at this local authority trading company. So and I suppose the final thing to say about that is much of the stuff that's being proposed for these well-to-do holidaymakers that are apparently going to flood to Rill once they find out about our gourmet fish and chips are being built, just as a sort of real slap in the face, are being built along a promenade which is, literally divides these previous recent multi-million pound projects like SC2 and what's going on in a minute with all this sort of stuff I just talked about, from the poorest people, the most deprived people in the whole of Wales, in Rhyl West. The Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation puts Rhyl West at number one spot out of over 1,000 areas in Wales. It is number one in poverty and deprivation. And yet gourmet fish and chip shops, etc., are going to be built and paid for by, ironically, by the people paying their rates in Rhyl West, literally over the road from where they are. Of course, none of them will be eating their fish and chips there because, of course, they can't afford, many of them, unfortunately, and this will increase in number, won't be able to afford food now for their families, working or not. Hence the explosion of food banks here. probably, as I say, similar where you are. So these are the things that concern me locally. Poverty is always my number one concern. Families locally who can't feed themselves. When I have to say before I go, council tax. I am sick to death of my local authority gouging, how can I put it, poor people, poor and disabled people, which is even worse, disabled residents for council tax to pay for this stuff when these people can't pay their council tax. Not they don't want to pay, they can't pay. They eat and heat wherever they're living, or attempt to, or pay their council tax. It's not rocket science, we all know that's the reality for many people. But I have spent 2 weeks over the past 3 weeks, almost every day, trying to help one of the residents of this town who is disabled, who has been receiving the benefits that they should be receiving. Therefore, the council know about this. This person's informed them of that. I've informed them of that. I've been on the phone to the council tax office. I've put it in writing to the council tax office. And yet, despite what should have been done, this person has been taken to court. And I've been forced to pay what they couldn't pay. If it's happening to them, it's happening to many other people. My attempts at getting the council tax office to see reason amounted to absolutely nothing. There was no acknowledgement to me, real acknowledgement, that this person was disabled, was in receipt of disability benefits, therefore was entitled to the reductions and everything else that's supposed to happen. The way this person's been treated has been absolutely disgusting, frankly. I can't go into details, but the nature of their disability means that they cannot easily read letters or anything else sent to them, which again this person has told our council tax office on the phone themselves. I've told them in writing them myself and on the phone, and I was told, well, that's this stuff's terrible, but not really our problem. So I will be taking that up with the council. As I say, if it's happening to the one person I know about and I've been trying to help, it will be happening to people all over the area, and more of my residents. And I think it is absolutely, on the record here, absolutely and wholly disgusting that people who can't afford, who can barely afford to look after themselves, particularly people who are some of the most vulnerable because of their disabilities, after a year of what's been going on and what they've had to go through, like we all have, on top of their disabilities and vulnerability, to then be gouged by council tax, treated the way they are, so that councils can plan for gourmet fish and chip shops and balcony eating at an expensive local restaurant that nobody I know eats at and can afford to eat at, certainly not the people who are having to pay extortionate amounts of council tax they shouldn't be paying because of the benefits they receive and their circumstances. So that's 20 minutes, that's me out. Tell me what you think, tell me if similar sort of things are happening to you at your health at the moment. and what your thoughts and concerns are, and I will see you next time. Happy Easter. Ciao for now.